friends. If you have already seen my video on the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier in Newfoundland, you're going to hear an introduction that's the same. The reaction is actually separate. It's the Battle of Beaumont-Hamel, so just stick with me. I use the same introduction for both. Take care. What's up, my Canadian cousins? Welcome back to the channel. So yeah, I've been, for those of you who watch my channel regularly, I've been sort of MIA over the summer, and I explained that in the beginning of the fall about where I had been, and I had just taken some time off of work and of the channel to travel. I was feeling burnt out, a little bit overextended with a lot of the things I do in my life, and all very rewarding things that I do in my work, raising my family, coaching my kids' soccer, and yes, doing this channel. But I needed a little time off. I came back very excited, and I came back to do some videos in earnest. I had put a couple of videos out, and then on September 30th, my father suddenly passed away in a way that was tragic. It was very upsetting. It was very traumatizing, and I had to deal with that and the aftermath of it. And so, unfortunately, the best laid plans of mice and men, right? So I was gone for a little while as a result of that. It's very important to me to come back to the channel, at least as of now. We are coming into the week for Veterans Day here in the US, Remembrance Day in the Commonwealth and in Britain. And this is an important time of year for me. I have been planning for quite a while, ever since I found out that there was an unknown soldier from the Royal Newfoundland Regiment during World War I, who was recently interred in the National War Monument in St. John's, Newfoundland. Canada now has two unknown soldiers buried at the National War Memorial. I did the changing of a guard video there at the cenotaph in Ottawa. And because Newfoundland at the time was its own dominion, it sent soldiers in its own right, and for a very small population on a relatively small island, just as with the rest of Canada, distinguished themselves quite well. And I know that for Newfoundlanders, they specifically remember the Battle of Beaumont-Hamel, which was part of the Battle of the Somme. Battle of the Somme was the British press, a large British offensive that was extraordinarily bloody. In some measure, it was to make progress, but also to relieve pressure on the French, who were dealing with the German offensive at Verdun. Those of you who study the war know how terrible and bloody both of those battles were. And of course, there's sort of sub-battles within these battles, and apparently, and I didn't really know much about it at all, the Battle of Beaumont-Hamel, where the Royal Newfoundland Regiment went in and suffered grievous casualties, and it is something that is worth remembrance for anyone, but particularly for Newfoundlanders. So, I wanted to take a look at that. And then as a companion to this video, I'm going to use both these introductions, I think the same introduction, but I'll put them in two separate videos. I'm going to watch the unknown soldier interred in Newfoundland. Going to tombs of unknown soldiers, or unknown warrior, as they call it in Britain, are very powerful. I've been to Washington, D.C., see the changing of the guard at Arlington Cemetery right across the river in Virginia. I visited the unknown soldier's tomb right under the Arc de Triomphe in Paris, visited the unknown warrior's tomb in London. It is definitely on my bucket list to get to Ottawa so I can go and see the unknown soldier buried at the cenotaph in National War Memorial there. And so, yeah, I mean, I was very, very struck in that after all these years, an unknown son of Newfoundland came home with the appropriate burial and remembrance, and I'm definitely going to do that. I also just want to say that, I kind of did put a message out there that when my father passed away, and I so appreciate all of the messages of support, love, and condolence that I received from a lot of you. Tell you a little bit about him on this Remembrance Day. He was a veteran of the United States Army. He was in U.S. Army Intelligence, which he went to after he graduated from law school. He went to basic training down south, and he went to Army Intelligence School after that, and served his time as a Cold Warrior in Munich, Germany. My older brother was born there. My parents lived there. He had a very unique Army experience, not ever wearing a uniform while he was over there, doing I don't even know what, because he was such a man of his word and of honor. He wouldn't give up his oath not to talk about the specifics of what he did over there, even after probably a lot of whatever it was has been declassified by now. But I want to remember my dad, and recently having seen him buried at a U.S. National Cemetery at Calverton, New York, with full honors, and seeing the Army Honor Guard in their dress blues perform the ceremony and fold the flag and hand it to my mother, it was so touching and moving. So he's going to be in my heart and mind as I watch the Battle of Beaumont-Hamel here, and as I watch the unknown Newfoundland soldier be interred up there in St. John's. All right, my friends, thank you so much for coming back and for your patience as I've been gone. And as always, I'll see you on the flip side.
Me back to dear old Blighty, put me on the train for London town. Take me over there, drop me anywhere, Birmingham, Leeds or Manchester, well I don't care. I should love to see my best girl cuddling up again, we soon should be. Italy, Italy, hurry me home to Blighty, Blighty is the place for me.
Before they get into the story, I just love watching these old film footage from World War I. It just brings you back in history. And especially now with the technology for them to colorize and slow these things down. I don't know if you've watched, Peter Jackson did a documentary in which he used modern technology a few years back called They Shall Not Grow Old, British film footage from the First World War that he brought to life in such an amazing way. He also used forensic lip readers that work for Scotland Yard police departments, I think, reading the lips of the soldiers and then bringing it to life with voice actors. It was really quite incredible.
July 1st, 1916, marked the first day of the Battle of the Somme, an offensive against Germany by British and French forces on both sides of France's Somme River during the First World War. The village of Beaumont-Hamel was just behind German lines. The offensive there started at 6 a.m. with an hour-long artillery bombardment of German positions. At 7:20, 10 minutes before 0 hour, 18,000 kilograms of explosives were detonated in a tunnel dug under the Hawthorne Ridge Redoubt, an important German stronghold west of the village.
I know what they're about to show. It's iconic, this massive explosion, building mines and then blowing them up. Oh, wow. I mean, yeah, it's incredible. Yeah, that.
explosion alerted the Germans to the attack and gave them time to man their defenses and arm their weapons. The Newfoundland Regiment and the rest of the 88th Brigade waited back in St. John's Road, a reserve trench with dugouts that protected them against German shells. The Newfoundlanders' mission was to go forward, but they walked into a complete disaster. At 8:45, the Newfoundland Regiment was ordered to move on the enemy, but the trenches were choked with dead and wounded from 2 earlier waves of attack. So the Newfoundlanders didn't use the trenches. They got up on top and simply walked over open ground. Some 780 men swarmed over the battlefield, weaving their way through the zigzag gaps in the British wire before reaching no man's land. They were the only ones moving on the battlefield, and they were silhouetted on the horizon. Every German gun in the area was trained on them. Machine guns cut through the Newfoundlanders like cordwood. Many fell before reaching their own front line. A few made it to a clump of shell-blasted trees where the Danger Tree Memorial stands today. But most were struck by guns trained on the gaps in the wire. The Newfoundland Regiment was decimated in a matter of minutes.
I'm not religious, but this nearer to God, what is it called? Nearer to God than thee? Always gets me. That Amazing Grace, especially if it's played on the pipes, just gets me right in the heart. Massive casualty rate. Oh, Lord.
The Royal Newfoundland Regiment has a storied past, but of all the stories, none is as captivating or tragic as its advance during the Battle of the Somme on July the 1st, 1916.
Look at these, just ordinary men.
100 years later, the event still resonates deeply with Newfoundlanders. Every July the 1st, while the rest of Canada celebrates the birth of a nation, Newfoundlanders mourn their losses in the Great War, and especially those at Beaumont-Hamel.
That was powerful. Is July 1st in Newfoundland and Labrador a specific provincial holiday that recognizes this battle? And is it one of the days where works and schools shut down? Because that's very interesting that would happen simultaneously with Canada Day and all the fireworks and other celebrations. Very interesting juxtaposition there. He mentioned in this that there is a Danger Tree Memorial. Let me look that up real quick. Okay, yeah, let's check this out now.
So the Danger Tree is an often forgotten part of consciousness of Newfoundlanders. Anybody that's been to Beaumont-Hamel, I'm sure, knows what the Danger Tree is, but one of the things I've been surprised by was the fact that there's a great number of people in Newfoundland that don't understand the significance of what the Danger Tree represents. So what it really is a point midway in the battlefield at Beaumont-Hamel where there was a gap in the wire where the Newfoundland Regiment was attempting to advance towards the German lines. And it was a particularly deadly spot where a number of Newfoundlanders lost their lives, and it was just a stark silhouette on the battlefield that was visible from both sides. The spot is marked in Beaumont-Hamel today with a replica of the tree. So the idea was to, in some way, mark that history and basically pass the torch on, to know that, to teach the younger generation what the significance of this. So in effect, I'm not really trying to recreate the danger tree in its exactness, but more or less have it act as a lightning rod for the story to be retold and keeping the history alive.
I got interrupted right at the end there, so I had to change spots. Yeah, that was very interesting. These tangible bits of history that you can actually visit, places, trees, memorials, seeing actually bits of battlefield, are so powerful, and they really bring the experience of learning about history home in a way that reading a book or watching a video really can't. At the same time, the medium of video and the fact that there's so much information on the internet, a lot of it bad, but some of it very good and constructive, allows us to travel to these places in our minds and imaginations in a way that we couldn't before that. And it's more ideal to go there ourselves, but when we can't, this is the next best thing. So I'm so glad I watched that, and that now provides for me a little bit more context and a little bit more real life. Well, let me just say it brings it home more in the human, as to the human cost, when I watched the interment of the unknown soldier in Newfoundland, Canada. Okay, my friends, for that video, please click right here. And as always, thank you for joining me, and I will see you soon. Take care, my friends.